Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the Enmarket Arena in Savannah, Georgia, and the show just ended. And this was Monday Night Raw's Fallout show from King and Queen of the Ring. And what an awful show this was tonight. This show was absolutely terrible, absolutely boring. Felt like Triple H wasn't even booking the show tonight. This show felt like a Bruce Pritchard booked Monday Night Raw. That's what it felt like. Probably Bruce Pritchard was running the show tonight. Triple H got the day off because, of course, it is Memorial Day. So, Bruce Pritchard was probably in charge of the show. No wonder why the show was awful tonight. But tonight on Monday Night Raw, we have Braun Strowman versus JD McDonagh. We had Ilja Dragunov versus Ricochet. The Authors of Pain, Akam and Razor, were in action. They have taken on the Creed brothers, Julius and Brutus Creed. Lyra Valkyria was in action, and she have taken on Kairi Sane. Rey Mysterio took on Carlito for the first time in 20 years. We have Bronson Reed versus Otis. And the main event of the show, steel cage match. Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch, where the Women's World Championship was on the line. Of course, Liv Morgan ended up beating Becky Lynch at King and Queen of the Ring to become the new Women's World Champion. So Liv Morgan's going to hold that title until Rhea Ripley comes back. And then when she comes back, it's going right back. The title's going right back on her. So Liv Morgan is just a transitional champion until Rhea Ripley comes back. But overall, Monday Night Raw, terrible show this was tonight. Awful. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with Ludwig Kaiser. Ludwig Kaiser was in the ring. Kaiser ended up getting on the mic. He ended up going, "Ladies and gentlemen, acknowledge the Ring General and the King of the Ring, Gunther." And of course, Gunther is, King of the Ring. He won it on Saturday by defeating Randy Orton, which obviously we all knew Gunther was going to win it. So Gunther ended up coming out. He made his way to the ring. He was holding the crown. Gunther then got into the ring. He looked pleased. He embraced Kaiser in the center of the ring. And the way how, from what I heard, the match finished was Orton's shoulder was up as Gunther ended up pinning Orton. And Michael Cole and Pat McAfee ended up mentioning on commentary that Triple H said that the ref's decision was final. So Gunther will now challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, since he won King of the Ring. So Gunther stood in the ring. The crowd was booing Gunther. He ended up going to say that on Saturday, he beat Randy Orton, and he is now the rightful King of the Ring. Gunther then went on to say that he has earned the opportunity to challenge the World Heavyweight Champion at SummerSlam. Gunther ended up saying that he wants to talk about the current champion, Damian Priest. He ended up saying that he's followed his path. And since Rhea Ripley has been out with an injury, Priest stepped up and took responsibility. Gunther ended up saying that he is a man who succeeds when he takes over responsibility. He ended up saying that the Intercontinental Championship lacked prestige. Gunther ended up saying that it was on him to step up and become the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. He ended up saying that the King of the Ring tournament lacked prestige. And he ended up saying he stepped up and raised it to levels and heights never seen before. He kept going to say that the World Heavyweight Championship is lacking prestige because the champion won it by taking a shortcut. And that led to Damian Priest, the World Heavyweight Champion, making his way out. He was accompanied by Finn Balor and JD McDonagh. And of course, Damian Priest is going to defend, the World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle in 2 weeks. So, Damian Priest stood in the ring. He was with Gunther. So, Balor, McDonough, and Kaiser were on the outside. Priest got on the mic, and he kept saying to Gunther, prestige? Shortcuts? He kept saying that Gunther is the king of the ring with that adorable little crown to prove it. He kept saying that Gunther does get a shot at SummerSlam, but does he really think he earned it? Priest ended up saying that everyone saw Gunther didn't beat Randy Orton, and that Gunther proved nothing. Priest ended up saying that if he wants a pat on the back, he'll get it. He ended up saying that if Gunther wants to take credit for something, he can take credit for costing Randy Orton a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. Priest ended up telling Gunther that he cashed in the briefcase because he earned it in the ladder match, in the Money in the Bank ladder match. So Priest ended up saying that's how that works. He wanted to say that he cashed in just like others have before him, and that's how that works. Priest ended up saying to Gunther, does he know how business around here works? And Priest ended up saying that he can teach Gunther a lesson. So Gunther ended up saying that he doesn't care what Priest thinks of this, and that he focuses on facts. Gunther ended up saying that the fact is he is the king of the ring. He ended up saying that if Priest is still the World Heavyweight Champion at SummerSlam, he'll face him for the title. He ended up saying in terms of teaching him about the business, maybe, Priest can. And Gunther ended up saying that business isn't his expertise. Gunther ended up saying that he has been waiting for anyone to teach him anything once the bell rings. He ended up saying that he can't teach Priest about business, but he can teach him about this great sport. So he ended up saying that Priest can either give him a business lesson before SummerSlam and address him as king, or he can give it after SummerSlam and address him as the World Heavyweight Champion. So Priest ended up saying that he respects what Gunther can do in the ring and respects his Intercontinental Championship reign of 666 days. He ended up saying that as the world champion, what can Gunther teach him that he doesn't already know? He ended up saying they'll go to war at SummerSlam. And this brought out Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre ended up making his way to the ring. And also, Drew McIntyre is cleared to compete because Triple H ended up announcing this past Saturday, that McIntyre is cleared to compete. So McIntyre got on the mic. We had CM Punk chants end up ringing out from the crowd. McIntyre ended up saying that he has to address this quickly, or they'll never shut up. He ended up saying that Punk has been back for 6 months, and that he has been the highlight of his return. McIntyre wanted to say that if he didn't injure Punk, he would have screwed up and been fired with nowhere else to go. So McIntyre then ended up addressing Priest and Gunther, and he ended up saying that he's the number one contender, and that he'll be champion in less than 3 weeks. Gunther then left the ring. Priest ended up saying that he's not looking past McIntyre, and that he just knows what will happen when they're done. McIntyre ended up saying that he's trying to help Priest, and Priest is spreading himself too thin. McIntyre ended up saying that his Judgment Day is screwing up left and right. He ended up saying that DOMINIK went all the way to Saudi Arabia to screw up. He ended up saying that it seems ever since Mommy got hurt, the real leader, the group has gone to hell. So McIntyre then ended up telling Priest to focus on what's important, himself and the World Heavyweight Championship. McIntyre ended up saying that he wants to paint a picture. So he mentioned Wade Barrett, Finlay, William Regal, and the British Bulldog. He ended up saying that they're all United Kingdom legends and have won 0 World Championships. McIntyre ended up saying that he is the only person from the UK to win the world title, and that he won it 3 times. He ended up saying soon he will be 4-time champion. McIntyre ended up telling Priest to do some tape study. He ended up saying, watch when he fought Roman Reigns. He ended up saying that the fans were so crazy that they broke Reigns. So McIntyre ended up saying that if it wasn't for Sikoa, he'd be a champion. So then McIntyre was like, now it's time for a geography lesson, because they don't teach that in America. So he had the crowd start chanting, USA. So McIntyre ended up saying that he's an American citizen. He ended up saying that Wales is far away from Scotland, but the fans were still nuts. He ended up saying all the Scottish fans are like him. So McIntyre ended up saying that he's about to take the bloody title away. So then Priest started chuckling. He ended up asking McIntyre if that's really the game plan to get under his skin. Priest ended up saying that he isn't afraid of the crowd booing him, and that he has made a living of proving people wrong. Priest ended up saying that he wants to talk the truth. He ended up saying, is McIntyre's wife going to be there? And what's her name? So McIntyre then warned him. Priest ended up saying that he just wanted to see if he could get under McIntyre's skin, but he also wanted to see if he's man enough to do something about it. So then Braun Strowman ended up coming out. McIntyre left the ring. Strowman then walked up to Damian Priest. Strowman and Priest went face to face. Priest backed up, and he pointed to McIntyre. He ended up pointing to McDonaugh. So now is how Monday Night Raw went off the air. But overall, I thought this was a very rough opening to Monday Night Raw here. I mean, this didn't progress anywhere. You have 3 heels in the ring. It was just meh, in my opinion, this whole segment. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had JD McDonagh versus Braun Strowman. And this was just, in my opinion. This was not good. You had this match go on for long. It should have been a squash match. I'm surprised it went on for, the amount of time it went on. So McDonough then got into the ring. He ended up charging at Strowman. Strowman caught McDonough, and he ended up easily pressing McDonough above his head. McDonough ended up sliding off, but Strowman threw McDonough to the corner. McDonough tried to avoid Strowman, but Strowman ended up lifting him up, and he ended up slamming McDonough on the canvas. Strowman then ended up yelling at Balor, Balor was checking on McDonough at ringside. And we had Strowman end up headbutting McDonough down. Strowman then ended up hitting a big forearm to McDonough's chest in the corner. Strowman then widely threw McDonough across the ring. McDonough then sidestepped an avalanche, but Strowman ended up delivering an uppercut to McDonough. Strowman ended up slamming McDonough down, and then he kicked McDonough in his ribs. McDonough ended up trying to chop at Strowman, but it did not affect Strowman. So Strowman ended up chopping McDonough down. Strowman then shoved McDonough to the corner and connected with an avalanche. Strowman then headbutted McDonough down. Strowman then ended up putting McDonough in the corner. He ended up charging to go for another avalanche, but McDonough ended up clipping Strowman's knee. Strowman then hit the ring post with his shoulder, and he fell out of the ring. So we had McDonough end up wanting to end the match in a count out, but he saw Strowman getting up. McDonough then ended up charging at Strowman, and he delivered a chop block to Strowman at ringside. And then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Strowman ended up shoving McDonough back, and we had McDonough end up rebounding with a drop kick to Strowman. McDonough then tied Strowman's injured knee in the ropes, but Strowman ended up knocking McDonough back. Strowman then ended up hitting a leaping clothesline to McDonough, and we had Strowman end up hitting a back body drop to McDonough. So Balor ended up running over. He pulled McDonough away from the ring. Strowman ended up getting up, and he was limping around because of his injured knee, selling that. So Strowman ended up seeing Balor, checking on McDonough. Strowman then got out of the ring. He hobbled around ringside to crush McDonough with the Strowman Express. Strowman ended up getting McDonough in the ring. Strowman then ended up lifting McDonough, but Balor ended up getting on the apron. Strowman dropped McDonough, and he ended up bringing Balor into the ring the hard way. So we had Balor end up distracting the ref as Carlito was shown running down. Carlito ended up running down to hit Strowman from behind. Strowman turned around and grabbed Carlito by his hair, and then he ended up punching Carlito down. McDonough hit Strowman with a headbutt and a chop block. McDonough then hit the ropes, but Strowman scooped up McDonough for a power slam, which I thought that was a nice power slam by Strowman there, a nice, counter. So Strowman ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Braun Strowman ended up winning the match. Post-match, Carlito and Balor ended up double teaming on Strowman. Strowman ended up powering both Carlito and Balor away. Strowman then ended up sending Balor out of the ring. He shoved Carlito over the top rope. So Strowman started posing, and McDonough ended up delivering a chair shot to Strowman's back, which did nothing to Strowman, that chair shot. So the crowd started chanting, "You fucked up," to McDonough. Strowman then slapped the chair out of McDonough's hand, and McDonough, Balor, and Carlito all ran off. And pretty much that was basically that. Overall, this was not a very good match to kick off Monday Night Raw. It's just a whole lot of meh in this match. This could have been a squash match. But like I said, I'm surprised this match went on long for the time it got. And then we got Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly was backstage. She was interviewing the new Women's World Champion, Liv Morgan. So Kathy Kelly ended up asking Liv Morgan if she has any remorse over how she beat Becky Lynch. To which Liv Morgan ended up telling Kathy Kelly that she doesn't have any remorse. She ended up saying that she didn't know DOMINIK played such a role, but had no remorse. She ended up saying that she's never beaten Becky Lynch straight up. She ended up saying tonight they'll face off in a steel cage match with nowhere to run or hide. Liv Morgan ended up saying that she will come out victorious. And she said, "Watch me." So that was what Liv Morgan had to say. And then we saw Finn Balor backstage with Carlito as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial. So Balor was asking Carlito why it took so long for him to come out. Carlito ended up saying that he was waiting for the right moment. So then Damian Priest walked up. Damian Priest was like, "Well, that plan didn't work." So Priest then ended up asking Balor and Carlito where McDonough is. They ended up saying to Priest that Braun Strowman is chasing McDonough. Priest ended up saying that Strowman should have been handled. So he ended up telling Balor and Carlito to get McDonough and bring him back to the Judgment Day clubhouse so that they can regroup. So Carlito and Balor, both of them were arguing over who was going to get and find McDonough. So pretty much that was basically that. And then we saw earlier in the day, we had a WWE trainer end up clearing Ricochet for competition. So Adam Pearce walked in. Ricochet ended up telling Adam Pearce that he wants Braun Breaker. After Braun Breaker last week ended up destroying Ricochet with a spear. He ended up spearing Ricochet through a road crate last week on Monday Night Raw. So Pearce ended up saying to Ricochet that he fined and suspended Braun Breaker, and that Ricochet has to wait. Ilja Dragunov ended up walking in, and he ended up thanking Ricochet for shoving him out of the way of Braun Breaker. He ended up saying that when he's better, he wants to face Ricochet again. So that's when Ricochet ended up challenging Dragunov tonight. Dragunov ended up saying that he doesn't face broken people. But Ricochet ended up telling Dragunov that he's good to go. That was that. So we had a rematch of this. So we had Ricochet versus Ilja Dragunov, which this was a decent match here, but we've seen these guys go at it before. So the match ended up getting underway. Ricochet ended up drop kicking Dragunov down. Ricochet was shown he had taped ribs because of Braun Breaker attacking him last week, speared him through the road crate. So Ricochet ended up uppercutting Dragunov. Dragunov responded back with some chops to Ricochet's chest. Dragunov whipped Ricochet into the opposite corner, but Ricochet slingshotted over Dragunov. Dragunov ended up applying a waistlock. Ricochet flipped through a German suplex attempt from Dragunov. He started kneeing away at Dragunov. Dragunov dug a right hand, and he ended up delivering a German suplex to Ricochet. Dragunov ended up keeping the waistlock on Ricochet and delivered another German suplex to Ricochet. Ricochet elbowed out of a third German suplex attempt, but Dragunov applied a abdominal stretch to Ricochet, and he started elbowing away at Ricochet's ribs. Dragunov then ended up grabbing Ricochet between his legs and hit a modified German suplex with a bridge, and he went for the cover, to which Ricochet kicked out. Ricochet crawled to the corner, and he forearmed Dragunov back. Dragunov ended up taking Ricochet down with a step-up enziguri. Ricochet then got out of a powerbomb attempt by Dragunov, but Dragunov blocked the kick, and Dragunov ended up kneeing Ricochet in the face to knock Ricochet out of the ring. And that's when Monday Night Raw went to commercial. So then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Dragunov and Ricochet were exchanging strikes. Dragunov stunned Ricochet with a kick to his head, and he delivered a snap German suplex to Ricochet. Dragunov hit the ropes, and he set up for the Constantine special, but Ricochet ended up kneeing Dragunov in the face to knock Dragunov out of the ring. Ricochet hit the ropes. He ended up hitting a nice-looking suicide dive to Dragunov. Ricochet started holding his ribs in pain as he got back into the ring. Dragunov was stumbling around ringside. Ricochet hit the ropes. He ended up going for another suicide dive, but he got caught by Dragunov. Dragunov drove Ricochet hard into the ring apron. He then went for a powerbomb, but Ricochet landed on the apron and knocked him back. Ricochet then hit a big moonsault block off the second rope to the floor to Dragunov, which was great. So Ricochet ended up getting Dragunov in the ring. He went to the top rope. He was setting up for the 630, but he landed on his feet when Dragunov moved out of the way. So Dragunov booted Ricochet in the face. Ricochet rebounded with some strikes to Dragunov. Dragunov then ended up laying Ricochet out with a lariat. Dragunov pulled Ricochet up to his feet and turned Ricochet inside out with the Constantine special. Dragunov ended up going for the cover, and Ricochet ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, we had Ricochet end up headbutting Dragunov to knock him to the canvas. Ricochet hit a shooting star press, which looked beautiful. He hit that on Dragunov, and he rolled around in pain. So then all of a sudden, Braun Breaker ended up delivering a spear to Ricochet. So the ref ended up calling for the bell. So Ricochet ended up winning the match by disqualification. Post-match, Braun Breaker ripped his shirt off, and he was fired up. And of course, Braun Breaker wasn't supposed to be here because, he's suspended. So Adam Pearce ended up running down with officials. Pearce ended up getting in the ring. He ended up screaming at Breakker. Breakker didn't even acknowledge Pearce. Breakker then left the ring as Pearce ended up following him. Breakker stopped and he angrily turned to face Adam Pearce. Then he walked off again. And that was that. Overall, decent match this was from Ricochet and Dragunov, but, we've seen them go at it before, and, Braun Breaker, being, here on Monday Night Raw tonight, when Adam Pearce ended up saying that he's fined and suspended, it really shows that Braun Breaker really wants off of Monday Night Raw. I hope WWE does the right thing and puts Braun on SmackDown, and they pair the Wolf Dogs back up. Him and Baron Corbin. And then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Cathy Kelley was backstage. And in the background, we saw Adam Pearce, shouting at Braun Breaker about him attacking Ricochet. Cathy Kelley wanted to interview Adam Pearce, but Kiana James walked up to Pearce. Pearce ended up saying to Kiana James that they need to head to his office because he needs a drink. So Cathy Kelley ended up saying that she'll try to get a word with Adam Pearce later on. This is what you're doing with Kiana James? Drafting her up from NXT to Monday Night Raw just to be near Adam Pearce? Wow. Shows me that they draft Kiana James for nothing. They got nothing planned for her. And so we saw a video from earlier in the day where The Miz walked up to an ice cream truck. R-Truth was in the truck and he ended up giving The Miz a drumstick. The ice cream drumsticks. So Miz ended up asking why R-Truth wanted him to be all white. So Truth ended up saying that he wanted Miz to match his flavor. Miz ended up saying that if he's vanilla, then R-Truth is, and he ended up saying strawberry. You all know where that was going to be headed. Instead of saying strawberry, you knew that at some point, if they would have allowed it, they would have said chocolate. But they weren't going in that route. You know that they exactly wanted to go that way. But then people would be like, oh, that's racist. So R-Truth ended up asking what Miz was actually going to say. So the New Day walked over. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. They ended up asking what Miz was going to say. So pretty much, they all wanted to get Miz to say, oh, if I'm vanilla, then you're chocolate. But that's what they all wanted the Miz to say. But Miz ended up saying that he was going to say strawberry. So the New Day ended up asking if they're still doing the Memorial Day raffle for the titles. To which Miz ended up telling them that it's not happening. Truth then closed the ice cream truck. Karrion Kross then walked up to Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Karrion Kross ended up saying that Kofi has already had his time in the sun and that he wants to help Xavier Woods. He ended up saying it's time for Xavier Woods to cut the New Day crap and let him help him. Kross ended up telling Xavier Woods to watch Authors of Pain tonight. Xavier Woods ended up saying that he would never break up a 10-year friendship and possibly the greatest tag team of all time just because he asked nicely. So Kofi ended up saying that the answer is no. Kross ended up asking when Kofi will let Xavier Woods shine. When you retire? Xavier Woods ended up saying that they'll face Authors of Pain next week and show what New Day has left in the tank. So Karrion Kross was like, oh, he wants to do this the hard way. Xavier Woods wants to do this the hard way, which is his favorite. So Karrion Kross walked off, and then Xavier Woods ended up saying to Kofi that Miz wasn't going to say strawberry, to which the both of them was like, yeah, I know. And that was basically that. But, Karrion Kross, wants to help Xavier Woods. He wants Woods to join the Final Testament. But, Kofi Kingston's just, asking, for Xavier Woods to Karrion Kross. That was that. Then we had the Authors of Pain, Akam and Razor, versus the Creed brothers, Julius and Brutus Creed. And of course, the Authors of Pain were accompanied by Karrion Kross, Scarlett, and Paul Ellering, and the Creeds were accompanied by Ivy Nile. And this was a quick match here. The Authors of Pain ended up attacking the Creed brothers as they end up coming into the ring. The ref called for the bell. Razor ended up grabbing Brutus and drove him hard into the turnbuckle with a Death Valley driver. Akam tagged in. He ended up punching Brutus in the face. Akam started choking Brutus on the middle rope. Razor ended up tagging him back in, and Akam ended up throwing Brutus into Razor's knee. Razor ended up applying a neck vice, but Brutus ended up fighting up. Razor slammed Brutus back down and tagged Akam in. Akam then ended up stopping Brutus and whipped him into the corner. Akam charged at Brutus, but Brutus ended up sidestepping Akam. Julius ended up tagging in. He came off the top rope with a flying forearm. He then hit Razor and hit Akam with a suplex and a kip up, which I like when Julius ends up doing that. Hits the German suplex and he does a kip up after. So Julius ended up hitting Akam with another exploder and a kip up. Razor, ended up running in and met the same fate, from Julius, exploder and a kip up. So Brutus ended up tagging in. The Creed brothers ended up going for the Brutus ball, but Scarlett distracted them. And Scarlett ended up sending Ivy Nile into the ring steps. Akam slid off. He ended up shoving Julius into his brother, knocking him to the floor. Akam then hit the Uranagi on Julius, and he tagged Razor in. And so the Authors of Pain ended up hitting their finisher, which they are now calling it What a Rush. Of course, tribute to the Legion of Doom, Legion of Doom's, entrance, the, oh, what a rush. So that's their new finisher name, What a Rush. So the Authors of Pain ended up winning the match. Overall, quick match this was. The Creeds deserve better. Then we saw Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio ended up saying that Carlito was welcomed into the LWO with open arms. He ended up saying that if he had taken the path he's taken, Carlito would still be his brother. Rey ended up saying that Carlito's jealousy over Dragon Lee made him bitter, and his attack on Cruz del Toro was a huge mistake. He ended up saying that Carlito can run to the Judgment Day, and maybe they'll welcome him with open arms, as he did. But those days are over. Rey ended up saying that when him and Carlito step into the ring, he won't find an old friend. He'll find out what happens when he cross the LWO. And now you'll find out what happens when you cross Rey Mysterio. So that was what Rey had to say. And then we saw Sheamus walking backstage. JD McDonagh was talking with Liv Morgan in the background from what we saw. Braun Strowman shouted at McDonaugh, and he ended up lipping after McDonaugh as McDonaugh ran away. And that was basically that. And then we had a video of WWE acknowledging, Memorial Day, the sacrifice that many have made for, freedoms of the people. Very beautiful, well done video package. And then we had Sheamus. Sheamus made his way to the ring, and Sheamus ended up getting on the mic. He ended up saying that he's out of breath just walking out here. He ended up saying that he's fired up because of the crowd. He ended up saying there were some great matches in the King of the Ring tournament. Nothing but banger after banger after banger after banger after banger. He ended up saying, sadly, he was not in the King of the Ring tournament. He ended up saying, why? That little Ken doll named Ludwig Kaiser smashed his knee and took him out. Sheamus ended up saying that he isn't bitter, but what he is salty about is Kaiser did nothing but talk crap about him while he sat at home and waited to be cleared. Sheamus ended up saying that he is now back and that he cannot wait to get his hands on Kaiser's pigeon chest. So Ludwig Kaiser appeared on the Tinitron. Kaiser ended up asking if Sheamus can see him with his old eyes. He ended up saying that he hears Sheamus crying and complaining, blaming Gunther for his loss at the King of the Ring. He ended up saying that Sheamus can blame Gunther because he is the King of the Ring, and no one stood a chance anyway, especially not him. He ended up saying that after weeks of being at home and acting tough online, Sheamus is trying to tell Kaiser what to do. Kaiser then ended up saying that he operates on his own terms. Sheamus then yelled at Kaiser to shut his mouth. Sheamus ended up saying that they can either listen to Kaiser's garbage, or Sheamus, himself say, "Oh, I could go and get you." So Sheamus then headed to the back. The camera then ended up following Sheamus through the gorilla position and backstage in the arena. So out of nowhere, Ludwig Kaiser blindsided Sheamus, and Kaiser and Sheamus were fighting behind the stage. The brawl between the two spilled back into the arena. Adam Pearce, was busy tonight, conducting Braun Breaker, and now Sheamus at this point. So yeah, Adam Pearce needs a drink. So Pearce, along with some officials, ended up pulling both Sheamus and Kaiser apart. And that was basically that. So this is setting up for Sheamus versus Kaiser. And then we saw Lyra Valkyria. Becky Lynch ended up coming up. She kept saying Saturday didn't go their way, and that it's not about winning all the time. It's about learning from each time. And that they'll either win and learn until it's time to walk away. Becky ended up telling Lyra that she's got this, and they ended up bumping fists. Becky ended up walking off, and she ended up telling Lyra to consider knee pads. So that was that. The best friends of Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. And then we had Kairi Sane versus Lyra Valkyria. And this was just meh, in my opinion. This was boring. Lyra Valkyria ended up hitting a waistlock takeover after the bell rang on Kairi Sane. Of course, Kairi Sane was accompanied by Dakota Kai. Kairi Sane started fighting up, and she ended up applying a waistlock, but Valkyria ended up elbowing out, ended up taking Kairi down with some strikes. Lyra ended up pulling her ribs in pain. She connected with a Northern Light suplex to Kairi, and Kairi ended up kicking out. Lyra ended up heading to the top rope, but Kairi ended up hitting the top rope to take Lyra down. Lyra ended up falling off the top rope down to the canvas. Kairi then ended up kicking her in the, injured ribs. Lyra ended up trying to fight back, but Kairi Sane ended up stunning Lyra with some right hands. Kairi Sane started punching away at her against the ropes and started stomping around on the canvas. Kairi ended up hitting the ropes, and she ended up hitting a basement forearm to Lyra's chest. Kairi then started stomping Lyra's ribs and ended up hitting a double stomp. So Kairi ended up going for the cover, and Lyra ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, Kairi Sane ended up going to the top rope. She ended up leaping for an insane elbow, but Lyra ended up getting the boots up. Lyra applied a crucifix pin on Kairi Sane, so Lyra Valkyria ended up winning the match. Overall, just a boring match this was. And then we saw Damian Priest. Damian Priest ended up asking Finn Balor and Carlito where McDonaugh is. So Priest then ended up asking what Carlito is doing here. To which Carlito ended up telling Priest that he wanted the Judgment Day in the clubhouse. But Priest ended up saying to Carlito, "You are not in the Judgment Day." Priest ended up telling Carlito to go prepare for his match. Carlito ended up asking Balor if he'll still be out there. Balor agreed. JD McDonagh walked in. Carlito ended up saying that he found him. McDonaugh ended up saying that he gave Braun Strowman the slip. So Priest then ended up questioning McDonaugh on why he was talking to Liv Morgan. McDonaugh ended up saying to Priest that he was telling Liv Morgan she won't be women's champion for long. So then Priest ended up asking where DOMINIK is. DOMINIK then walked in. So Priest ended up asking to speak to DOMINIK alone. Balor and McDonaugh leave. Priest ended up asking DOMINIK what he is doing. So DOMINIK ended up saying that he talked to Rhea Ripley and he will fix this. To which Priest ended up warning DOMINIK to fix this all tonight. So that was basically that. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we went into Damage Control's locker room. Io Sky was sitting on the couch. Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane ended up walking in. And this was just hilarious here. Io Sky gets up. She begins screaming like a banshee. She's throwing lamps around. She ends up stomping through a coffee table, throwing another table. And pretty much that was that. Absolutely hilarious. So that's what Io Sky did. Throwing lamps, stomping through a coffee table, and throwing another table. Just, screaming at the top of her lungs in like Japanese. That's all it was. And it was absolutely hilarious. Then we got Rey Mysterio versus Carlito. Of course, Rey Mysterio was accompanied by Dragon Lee and Zelina Vega. And this is the first time in 20 years that Rey Mysterio and Carlito had a match together. And Michael Cole, on commentary, he ended up saying, he called that match with Rey and Carlito, 20 years ago. Match got underway. Rey threw his shirt at Carlito. Both guys ended up circling the ring. Carlito rolled out of the ring, and he yelled at Dragon Lee. Carlito turned around, and Rey ended up farming Carlito in his face. Rey ended up getting Carlito in the ring. Carlito attacked Rey as he got into the ring. He whipped Rey hard into the corner, and Rey collapsed to the canvas. So Carlito whipped Rey hard into the corner, and he hit a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. He ended up going for the cover as Rey kicked out. We had Rey end up going for a springboard moonsault, but he ended up getting caught by Carlito. Carlito ended up driving Rey into the corner. Carlito locked Rey in the Tree of Woe, and he delivered a dropkick. Carlito then backed up. He ended up charging for a sliding dropkick, but he ended up crotching himself on the ring post. It was a botch there. Botch on Carlito. So then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Carlito was in control of the match. He started forearming Rey down, and he ended up going for the cover, and Rey ended up kicking out. Carlito ended up punching Rey in the corner and whipped him to the opposite corner. Rey ended up booting Carlito back. He ended up rolling up his body, but Carlito ended up countering into an alley-oop. Rey then rolled to the apron to recover. Carlito ended up standing on the second rope, and he grabbed Rey for a deadlift superplex, and he ended up going for the cover, and Rey ended up kicking out. So, at the end of the match, Finn Balor ended up appearing at ringside. Balor ended up attacking Dragon Lee. Balor ended up sending Dragon Lee over the commentary table. Rey ended up hitting Balor with a seated senton off the apron. Rey ended up getting to the ring, and Carlito ended up attacking him. Carlito set up for a backstabber, but Rey reversed that. He ended up sending Carlito into the ropes. Rey then ended up hitting the 619, and he ended up hitting the slingshot splash on Carlito. Rey ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Rey Mysterio ended up winning the match, and another loss on Carlito. Post-match, Rey celebrated with Dragon Lee and Zelina Vega, and he ended up going out of the ring, and he attacked Balor. Rey ended up putting Balor on the commentary table. Dragon Lee then went to the top rope, but Damian Priest ended up attacking Rey. Carlito pulled Dragon Lee's leg and crotched Dragon Lee on the top rope. Priest then ended up hitting Dragon Lee with the Razor's Edge. Rey got into the ring and he drop kicked Damian Priest into position. Rey knocked Carlito off the apron. He ended up charging at Priest, but Priest ended up delivering a big boot to Rey. Priest then ended up hitting Rey with the South of Heaven, and he stood tall in the ring. So Balor and Carlito looked happy at ringside by Priest ended up delivering the South of Heaven to Rey, but Priest angrily looked over at both Balor and Carlito, and that led to Balor and Carlito not smiling anymore. So that was that. Overall, decent matches was between Rey and Carlito. Like they said on commentary, it's been 20 years since both Rey and Carlito had a match together. And then we saw Chad Gable. Chad Gable was backstage with Akira Tozawa, to which Gable ended up saying that he didn't see Tozawa in Saudi Arabia, so he must have had a good reason for not making the trip. Tozawa then apologized to Chad Gable. Braun Strowman interrupted, and he demanded to know if Tozawa and Gable have seen McDonaugh. They ended up saying no. Strowman kept walking. So Maxine Dupree walked up with Otis. Gable started making fun of both Dupree and Otis. He ended up saying that he'll give Otis a chance to redeem himself, and that Otis will face Bronson Reed. He ended up saying that Otis will beat him. Chad Gable ended up making Otis say, no matter what. So pretty much that was basically that. And then we had Bronson Reed versus Otis, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial. This was just a quick match here. We had Otis later on. He wanted to do the Caterpillar, but Chad Gable ended up getting on the apron. Chad Gable stopped Otis from doing the Caterpillar. Otis looked upset, and Otis started gyrating. Gable ended up grabbing Otis' face, and he started yelling at him. Otis ended up then turned into a super kick from Bronson Reed. And Bronson Reed followed that up with a senton splash. Reed went to the top rope, and he ended up yelling at Chad Gable. Reed ended up crushing Otis with a tsunami, and Bronson Reed ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Bronson Reed ended up winning the match. Post-match, Chad Gable ended up getting to the ring. He ended up shouting on the mic for Otis to get in the ring. Chad Gable ended up demanding that both Maxine Dupree and Akira Tozawa come out. So Chad Gable ended up saying that he's having an Alpha Academy meeting right now. To which Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then, when Monday Night Raw came back, Chad Gable was in the ring with the Alpha Academy. Gable then sneered at Otis. He ended up asking what he is going to do with Otis. Not only did he cost him the Intercontinental Championship Saturday in Saudi Arabia, he gave him another chance, but he blew it. Chad Gable ended up saying that he knows how to get through to Otis. He ended up saying that Otis lacks discipline. So Gable will show him discipline in front of everybody here. So Gable ended up saying that he doesn't want to do this. Gable then started to unbuckle his belt. Chad Gable ended up saying that Otis made him do this. Gable told Otis to grab the rope. So Otis didn't move. Gable then ordered Otis to grab the rope. So Otis slowly made his way over to the ropes. He grabbed the top rope with his back turned on Chad Gable. Chad Gable then ended up telling both Maxine Dupree and Akira Tozawa to watch, because this is what happens when you fail the Alpha Academy. So Chad Gable ended up saying that this will hurt him more than it hurts Otis. So Chad Gable was going to smack Otis with the belt, but Maxine Dupree ended up stopping him. Chad Gable yelled at Maxine to get out of the ring, so she ended up leaving the ring. Gable then ended up asking if Tozawa has anything to say. So Tozawa said nothing. Chad Gable then ended up going to hit Otis, but Sami Zayn made his way out to the ring. So Gable ended up suggesting Sami turn around unless he's giving him his rightful title shot. So Chad Gable ended up warning him to not take another step. Sami Zayn ignored Chad Gable and he got into the ring. Sami Zayn ended up asking what Gable is going to do. Sami Zayn ended up saying that Gable isn't tough and that he is a weak little man. Sami Zayn ended up saying that Gable has manipulated his way into Intercontinental Championship opportunities and come up short each time. He ended up saying that Gable wants to blame everyone else, the people, Sami Zayn, and the Alpha Academy. So Sami was like, it's no one's fault but yours, talking to Chad Gable. He ended up saying that Chad Gable can't get the job done. Gable ended up saying that Sami Zayn doesn't know what he's talking about. He ended up saying that he beat Sami Zayn last week and would have done it on Saturday if it wasn't for that idiot Otis. He was talking about Otis there. So Gable ended up going to whip Otis. Sami Zayn then ripped the belt away from Chad Gable. Sami Zayn then ended up throwing the Intercontinental Championship and he ended up approaching Gable. Otis stood in his way. Sami Zayn then ended up asking Otis what he's going to do. He was like, are you going to listen to Gable? How much more will you take? Sami Zayn ended up telling Otis to stop listening to Gable and listen to the people. So Sami Zayn started telling Otis, listen, just listen. So Gable then ended up blindsiding Sami Zayn. He started punching away at him. Gable then started punching away at Sami Zayn in the corner. Sami Zayn started fighting back. He ended up taking Gable down. Otis then pulled Sami Zayn off of Gable. Sami Zayn tried to talk sense into Otis because Otis is in the middle here. Like, who does he want to trust? Trust Chad Gable or trust Sami Zayn? So Gable ended up wiping Sami Zayn out with a German suplex. Gable ended up taking his jacket off. He ended up mounting Sami Zayn. Gable started talking trash to Sami. Otis ended up teasing like he was going to act to what was going on, but Otis didn't even do anything. Chad Gable then threw the Intercontinental Championship down onto Sami Zayn. So the crowd started chanting, let's go Otis. But Otis didn't even do anything. Gable left the ring with Tozawa. Otis didn't even follow Chad Gable. So Chad Gable started shouting at Otis to follow him. And so Otis then ended up obliging to follow Chad Gable. And pretty much that was basically that. Like I said, Otis is stuck in the middle here on who he'll trust. Does he trust Chad Gable? Or does he trust Sami Zayn? But obviously, this is going to lead to the breakup of the Alpha Academy. I think the Creed brothers are going to be with Chad Gable, in this storyline as it progresses. So Chad Gable will have a new Alpha Academy in the Creed brothers. And then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Kathy Kelly was backstage. She was with Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, which Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark are the number one contenders for the Women's Tag Team Championship. They'll be taking on Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Stark ended up saying that they've never been properly introduced to Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. So Sonya Deville ended up walking up. She ended up saying that they're talking like they're champions, but they're not. So we had Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark end up saying that they can do this without Sonya Deville's help. And I think this is going to lead to Sonya Deville, managing Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, at some point. So Baszler and Stark walk off on Sonya Deville. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn stopped both Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. They didn't mention that Baszler and Stark haven't faced or beaten them yet, and that won't change. Sonya Deville ended up saying that Alba Fire and Isla Dawn have no respect. So pretty much that was basically that. And then we saw what we're going to see next week on Monday Night Raw. Of course, Sheamus is going to face Ludwig Kaiser. New Day is going to take on the Authors of Pain. And Damian Priest will face Rey Mysterio. So that is all going to be next week on Monday Night Raw. Main event. Steel cage match. Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan. Women's World Championship on the line. And this was just a match here. Of course, Becky Lynch's contract is expiring this Saturday. And some are saying that this could be her final match in WWE. If she doesn't re-sign. So we had the match end up getting underway as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial. The match was in progress. Liv Morgan ended up digging Becky Lynch's face into the cage, started rubbing Lynch's face, around. Pretty much Becky Lynch was getting her ass kicked by Liv Morgan, points here in the match as the show came back from commercial. So we had Liv Morgan end up showing away at Becky Lynch. She ended up charging at Becky Lynch, but she ended up hitting the cage wall head first when Becky moved out of the way. Becky ended up kicking away at Liv Morgan and smashing her face into the cage wall. We had Becky end up heading to the top rope, connected with a missile drop kick to Liv Morgan. Becky then crawled over and covered Liv Morgan, to which Liv Morgan ended up kicking out. So then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Liv Morgan was shown climbing the cage in the corner of the ring. Becky ended up cutting Liv off. Becky ended up quickly scaling the ropes to pull Liv Morgan down. Liv Morgan ended up knocking Becky off the ropes, but Becky ended up quickly popping back up. Becky connected with a superplex to Liv Morgan. She ended up crawling over to cover Liv Morgan, to which Liv Morgan ended up kicking out too. Becky then ended up going right for this armor, but Liv Morgan ended up shoving Becky into the cage wall. Liv Morgan then connected with a springboard codebreaker. She ended up going for the cover, to which Becky ended up kicking out. We had later on, Liv Morgan ended up getting Becky Lynch up against the ropes. She ended up going for the Oblivion, but Becky moved out of the way. Becky then applied this armor on the ropes. So Liv Morgan was shown screaming in pain, and she ended up shoving Becky's face into the cage wall. Liv Morgan started to climb the cage, but Becky ended up hitting a side leg sweep off the middle rope. She ended up going for the cover, to which Liv Morgan ended up kicking out. So DOMINIK then ended up running down, and he opened the cage door. DOMINIK ended up shouting for Becky to exit the cage. So Balor and McDonaugh ended up running down to ask DOMINIK what he's doing. So Balor and McDonaugh ended up telling DOMINIK to stay out of this. So then all of a sudden, Braun Strowman ran down. Braun Strowman started to chase Balor and McDonaugh. Strowman circled the ring, and he ended up crashing into DOMINIK, to which DOMINIK inadvertently slammed the cage door into Becky's head. And that led to Liv Morgan ended up crawling out of the cage door to retain the Women's World Championship. So there you go. Liv Morgan won the match, retains the Women's World Championship by escaping the cage. So then DOMINIK then ended up staring at Liv Morgan as Liv Morgan walked off with the Women's World Championship. So there was a picture online that I saw right here. And there's a video of Liv Morgan. She ended up kissing DOMINIK on the lips, to which DOMINIK wasn't happy about that. So I saw the picture of this. There's a video of it on, X. So you can go check that out. It didn't get shown on TV because USA ended up cutting the feed off too quick. So they WWE ended up posting it on their social media, their X, maybe Instagram. But that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. Overall, just a very meh match this was. Obviously, Liv Morgan was going to win the match and retain the title. Liv Morgan's just keeping the Women's World Championship warm until Rhea Ripley comes back by SummerSlam. And then we're going to get Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam for the title, and that title is going right back on Rhea Ripley. But overall, Monday Night Raw tonight, terrible show it was. Very boring, in my opinion. This was a Bruce Pritchard booked Monday Night Raw. But anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys on Wednesday for AEW Dynamite. So, see you then.